friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. How can I just came back from outside, running around like a crazy girl. She's all happy. Just had her dinner. And she loves having her neck scratched, huh? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, you're a good girl. Oh, you're a good girl. Okay. So, Missing Persons Edition today. Thanks for being here. And when I asked you guys a couple weeks ago, hey, you know, there's no way our team can cover the entire world with missing people reports. You guys have come through, and I appreciate it very, very much. Yeah. And if I don't say thank you for sending it in, let me say it now. Thank you for sending it in. On a couple of cases, we had over 100 people send it in, so thank you. Now, many of you know of one of the cases I'm going to talk about tonight. Now, if you bought this book, Missing 411 Law, you're going to know about the second case. And I kind of have a protocol that we go through here on missing persons cases. I don't like to come out within the first couple days and talk about it. Too much can evolve, too much can happen. You just don't really know what's going on. A lot of rumors, not a lot of facts. So I prefer to wait 30 days. Let everything come to a head. Let the facts surface as they are. But you guys didn't want to wait, so we're going to talk about one of them right now. And there's a couple of cases going on in the world that sure seem on the front end to be 411 cases. Now, Missing 411 Washington, we're not going to be silly out there. In fact, we had to never have done this within a month and a half of going public with the book. Had to make a second order, so it's taken off, and tons of good reviews, and you can find them on our website. So thanks for everyone putting it out there. A lot of good compliments about the driving map we put with the book, full-size 24 by 36 driving map with the clusters and the missing people on it. And then I was on KOMO TV Channel 4 in Seattle a couple days ago. I want to say thanks to the people there, being super friendly. Steve, you know who you are. Thanks for getting me on. Appreciate it. And they gave me 5 minutes in the middle of the day, so that was really nice of you. Thank you. So let's get going on this. The first case is the case everyone rolled in about. And these are hard cases for me, folks. I watched the parents 3 or 4 times get interviewed on this, and I just kept getting tears in my eyes. This is a young man that I wish I meet someday. I hope we can find him. His name is Caleb Harris. 21 years old, went missing March 4th, 2024. Sophomore at the University of Texas, Corpus Christi. Lived with his mom and dad in New Braunfels, Texas. And you can see by the missing poster, he loved hunting and fishing. Which may be why Caleb chose Corpus Christi to go to school at, because there's great fishing all up and down that coast. And I saw a lot of pictures of Caleb with some beautiful fish. The young man knows what he's doing. That's a beautiful rainbow right there. And he lived off campus at an apartment with 2 roommates and a dog that they just got, which I think is, the timing on this is interesting. They haven't had the dog for too long. And so anyhow, lived off campus with his 2 roommates. Here is the university right here. Essentially almost on an island. Beautiful location. Place I'd like to go to school. He lived off campus right here. Very close to water. Nice apartment. These are all open fields across the way. Open fields. Keep that in mind. So on March 4th this year, at about 2:45 in the morning, Caleb sends his dad a couple of Snapchats. And in it, he said that earlier they'd been playing with their new dog. There's a couple pictures. And I guess they said there were some text messages. I don't know what the context of that was. But then he said, hey, they cut the conversation short and Caleb took the dog out to use the bathroom. Well, he had ordered a meal through Uber. So at about 2:45, 2:50, 2:53, right in there, he brings the dog back into the apartment. And then he goes back outside to wait for the Uber driver. Now he was planning for the next day based on the order. And he got 2 Lunchables, an apple pie, and a Red Bull. And that was going to be the lunch for tomorrow when he went to school. And then afterwards, one of those meals was going to be for later because he was going to go fishing. Told his dad that. Sounds like if I was going to school, that's what I'd be doing. It'd be hard for me not to fish. Well, the father stated that his son had recently signed a new lease on the apartment with his roommates, and he was excited. And he had also landed a job in Alaska for the summer. Those are 2 huge kudos. Well, so Caleb went out to meet the Uber at 9 a.m. or approximately. The roommates don't see Caleb in the apartment, and they figured he'd be sleeping. They open the front door, and there's his Uber Eats order sitting on the front porch. Completely there. Nothing's been touched. He's not home. And his truck, his keys, his wallet are all still home. And when he went outside with the dog and for the Uber, he was barefoot. Well, at 1 p.m., from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., his roommates search for him, don't find him, start to get nervous. At 1 o'clock, they call Caleb's parents. Now, the parents get nervous. They call Corpus Christi police, report him as missing. March 5th, the following day, Corpus Christi police shows up, and they start to take this seriously. They checked his phone, and according to them, somebody turned that phone off at 3 a.m., which was about the time that he went missing. The police contact Uber, and Uber confirmed that the delivery was normal. Now, in the description of Caleb, they said he was a friendly young man, about 5'11", medium build, was smart, and was in his sophomore year at school. Well, Corpus Christi police asked for assistance from a group called Texar. Most states do not have as well an organized search and rescue groups as Texas. Texar is very good. And they get Texar to come down. And Texar brought canines with them. Very well trained canines. The same time, they called the U.S. Coast Guard, and they asked them to fly the coast to see if they see anything odd floating in the water or on the beach. And then Corpus Christi police pulled their cadets out of the police academy, and they have them walk in the fields looking for Caleb. And the Corpus Christi dive team was working the area as well. And then there were hundreds of volunteers and professionals searching the fields, drainage ditches, etc. Parents got there, they're dumbfounded. Completely outside the realm of Caleb. Talked to him regularly. He and his dad talked fishing all the time. His mom was actually there at his apartment the previous weekend. And he had taken his mom around and showed her all of his favorite places to go. Fishing, hanging out, going to the beach. She said they had a great day. The search continued for many days. Many days. And I'm sure that private searches are still going on today. I always get asked, well, Dave, what would you have done? It's a tough question. Because I think calling Texar was the perfect thing to do. See if the canines pick up a scent. See where they track them to. Well, if they did pick up a scent, they didn't find anybody yet. And they're not saying what they found. If they found anything. Now remember, doesn't have any shoes, no wallet, phone's turned off. How many 21-year-olds would travel around without their phone on? I don't think so. There's only two choices here. Either a good guy shut the phone off or a bad guy shut the phone off. There's no middle ground here. Either Caleb did or a bad guy did. Now this area, relatively safe. I looked at it on a map. There hadn't been a lot of crime in the area. I wouldn't know what to think. I wouldn't think initially that there was a crime involved. The parents hired a private investigator, and like the second or the third day that Caleb was missing, he said, oh, he'd been abducted and kidnapped. Police said there's no evidence of any foul play. There's been no kidnapping demand. This happened on the 4th of March. It's been almost 10 days. Come on. Now the questions I have for the case is that I'd like to know the context of the conversation that Caleb had with his parents at 2:45 in the morning. That's not a normal time for a college student to be calling his parents. No. Like me, I'd be fast asleep. I'd pick up from the kid, but I might be a little rummy. But why did Caleb call that at that time? Was there some type of issue that needed resolution? Was he having a tough time with something? Was he intoxicated? Nothing like that has come up. Nothing was said about him being intoxicated or under the influence. I'm just asking questions out loud. What was his mental health status? There has been one mention about that in anything. So you have to go with that it was all good. But let's look at the facts. He walked outside of his apartment from where his roommates were to wait for the Uber driver. Point of separation. 2 minutes earlier, he was with his dog. He has no shoes. And he's within proximity, very close to water. And at about the same time, his phone goes off. That didn't go off. They said somebody shut it off. Okay, getting back to the question, what would I do? Number one, the third day that Caleb was missing, I would have devoted 80% of my resources to the beach, the bay. I'm talking about Oso Bay. This is Oso Bay right here. And there's an inlet to the bay over here. But I would commit a lot to that end of the coast. Now also it'd be dependent on what the dogs did, and they haven't said that. Where did the dogs track him to? If he's in bare feet, a good dog should have been able to track. Unless you got in a car with somebody who took a ride. They haven't said. Now, if you bring in 3 dogs and all the dogs walk from his front door into the middle of the parking lot and stop, he took a ride from somebody, or he forcibly had to get in a car with somebody. But they haven't made that public, and they've poured tons of resources into the fields, into the beach, into the water, which tells me the canines didn't stop in the parking lot. But they didn't say where the canines went to. Man, I have that vision of his parents in my mind. I saw an interview with him this morning, and they lost their heart and soul. Right now they're looking for him. His mom is a huge Christian, and she made it evident that that boy's coming back to me, and we're going to be good. And I pray that is the truth. So Caleb, if you're watching, bygones are bygones, just come on back. Nobody cares. We all love you. Everybody is having issues these days, we understand. Parents are going to love you more tomorrow than they did today. Just come on back. Now, when I heard about Caleb's case, it immediately reminded me of a case I wrote about here. Missing 411 Law, LAW, Land, Air, Water. And the next case involves all 3. A man named Woodrow Klaus, yes, a German, 24 years old, and he went missing October 16th, 1960, 64 years earlier. 20 miles north of Port Mansfield, Texas. Now, where's Port Mansfield? Well, that's a very good question. And it's not far from where Caleb disappeared. Port Mansfield is right here. 20 miles north is just about Padre Island area, right about here. And that is about it's about 70 air miles from here straight to Corpus Christi along the coast. Here's where Caleb disappeared. Here's where this man disappeared. I'll bring this back in a second because we're going to talk about something else. So, yeah, about 70 air miles to Texas A&M where Caleb was. So Woodrow, it's a picture of Woodrow after he was found. Look at those eyes. Remember I told you before about people who are found after one of these events, how their eyes look all buggy? Yeah, take a look at that. Well, he's a plumber from Austin, Texas. He and 5 friends drove 250 miles from Austin down to that area north of Port Mansfield to go fishing. Oh, don't let me think that Caleb loved fishing. Woodrow loved fishing. So they get in late on a Friday night. They're all having fun. The next day they're out fishing and having fun, and everyone's sitting around a fire. And at about 12:15 a.m., Woodrow tells his friends that he's going to grab his fishing pole and his flashlight, and he's going to walk down the canal a bit, do some fishing. And hey, sometimes fishing is better at night. I get that. I don't find that unusual in the least. So he took off at 12:15. Point of separation. Noon the following day, his friends get up and they're looking around for Woodrow. They can't find him. So they search around. They go out to 1 mile distance. They don't find anything. Well, Woodrow's friends formally reported him missing later in the day. The sheriff gets there and he says, hey, take me to the area where you last saw your friend. So they walk out there about a mile. And they say, let's go a little further. They go a little further. And they're laying on this dirt beach on the side of the canal. They find his fishing pole, his shoes, and his flashlight. Well, Dave, that's quite amazing. Yeah. So they know that Woodrow is walking around out there with no shoes. And the thinking is that he must have walked on or left in the middle of the night and didn't have his flashlight either. So police officers started to drag the canal thinking that Woodrow fell in and is drowned. Well, the local sheriff contacts Port Isabel Naval Air Station and asks them to dispatch a helicopter to search the water in that area, in every direction. And then they get the local fire departments to respond and search the banks and the dirt between the canals. Search was massive, over 100 people. And other than what I told you they found on the banks, nothing else was found. Now, from what I just told you, what would be the protocol? I think they did the right thing. Yeah. I suppose I would have asked if Woodrow could swim. If he could swim real good, I don't know. I'm not going to fall in the canal and drown. I don't think any good swimmer is. But if you didn't know how to swim, maybe. But I'm sorry. I could never understand people that wanted to go fishing next to a river or a creek and they didn't know how to swim. Especially if you weren't wearing a life preserver. That to me is just ridiculous. That's my own personal feeling. So, October 18th, it's a Monday. And this is a day when all of the men that work on the oil barges and boats and things around Padre Island and up and down the coast of Texas all come back and go to work. Well, there were workers on an oil barge 12 miles north of where Woodrow went missing, closer to Corpus Christi. And the men get into one of their empty barges and they hear something. And they go walking into the back, and here's Woodrow, huddled up in the corner, saying nothing. So they start to talk to him, and he had amnesia. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know who he was. But the captain of the barge knew that the sheriff was looking for somebody missing and called the sheriff. So here's the map again. Now, Woodrow went missing right about in this area. He's found further north up in this area, which is very close to Corpus Christi. Friends, I can't make this up. I can't make it up. I was flabbergasted. When I heard Caleb's case, the more days have gone on, the more it reminded me of Woodrow. So the sheriff took Woodrow back to his friends, and they asked the obvious question: how'd you get there? I don't know. How would a man travel 12 miles at night with no flashlight and no shoes through an area he's never been through before. Come on. Come on. This goes back to the article in Wikipedia. It really does tick me off. Oh, there's nothing about these cases that are mysterious. We reviewed them all. There's nothing unusual about them. Oh, there's not. Oh, okay. Go tell that to Caleb's parents. Go tell that to Woodrow Klaus. Yeah, thank you. Now, in Woodrow's case, German, point of separation, when he left his friends, he's walking next to water. His equipment is found next to water. He's missing shoes. He has amnesia. He has no mental health issues. The article even stated that they didn't know and they didn't think that Woodrow went to go see a physician. So I know I have a super smart audience. And I know I'm going to get two different types of responses here. I'm going to get the responses from the people who have watched my movies. Yes, watched my movies. And people who have not watched my movies. And there's going to be a discernible difference. Somebody made a post the other day on one of my other videos asking about Bigfoot. And I explained to him that someone's opinion is only as good as the effort they've made to educate themselves on the topic. And the person didn't respond. I didn't insult them, but in reality, your opinion on anything is only that good. So a lot of people have told me that they're offended when I even make any innuendo to anything paranormal in any of my cases. What can I say? I gotta show, and it's not hard for me to, I want to show the utmost respect to Caleb and his parents. I don't care what anybody says. At this point, it's an unusual case. It's not a normal case. The number of kids that disappear from their apartment while going to school is infinitesimally small. But it's almost as though I know too much at this point. I mean, I've read too much. I've written too many books. I've researched too many disappearances of college kids. And the number of college kids that are later found murdered, very small. I would like to know, and I'm not pushing anybody to find out, so don't push anybody, parents, police, nobody. I'm just my own curiosity about Caleb's mental state. But remember what I said a profile about the people that go missing. Easygoing, friendly, get along with others. Likes people. That was Caleb. So does it surprise me? No, it doesn't surprise me. Young, healthy. I would like to know if he has any major medical conditions. I'm with his mom. I hope and pray he's found soon. And if he's found with amnesia, so what? We can get him over that. Just as long as he's a happy, healthy young man. In the meantime, please post this everywhere. Both these stories remind me of Missing 411, a sobering coincidence, and that story about Woodrow's in Missing 411 Law. So please pass this along. Be kind to people. Do something friendly for others. This is the kindness revolution. Paulides out.